That's right. We're back. It's VGB's podcast, episode 5, with your new host, Ravioli.
Oh, we're free? We don't have to do this anymore?
Yeah, we don't have to do it anymore. So
That's
it's
great.
Ravioli hosting. And what say you, Ravioli? What's on the... What are you playing lately?
He's sleeping, is what
Sonic
he's playing.
and Knuckles. You're playing Sonic and Knuckles?
Oh,
That game came out so much... Why? Why do you like that one? I like all the fuckable animals. What the fuck is wrong with you? That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah, Ravioli went blue real fast.
That's crazy.
That's a weird energy to start with, bud. He has to go to the vet in the middle of recording this podcast.
Oh, good.
How fucked up is that?
Is he good?
He's okay. He's got a little bit of some sort of I think he has like a little bit of a skin infection.
No.
So it's a good thing I was holding him with my bare hands.
Yeah, with your bare hands. That's really smart.
Yeah, it's really smart.
That's really good.
It's really smart. Hi, folks. I'm one of your hosts. I'm John Warren. With me is my forever co-host, Niki Grayson.
Hello.
And with us for the entire show is one Imran Khan, one of my favorite people on the planet.
Wow. That's
Wow.
very high praise.
Well,
So, John, I have a weird thing that my wife makes
what's
fun
that?
of me for.
All right.
Okay,
That whenever
cool.
I have leftover fast food, which is, not incredibly often, but sometimes like
Okay.
you buy too much fast food, you bring it home, you put it in the fridge.
Sure.
I take much more care in reheating that fast food than anyone who ever made it thinks about the first time they made it.
So is it kind of like are you a person that actually uses the power levels of your microwave,
Yes.
or are we?
So it is
wow.
beyond that. So I had 9 chicken nuggets left from last
Okay.
night. Not even a full 10. 9 chicken
Uh-huh.
nuggets.
You had one.
Yeah.
To make sure that they weren't poison.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
You had to test one.
So today I set the oven to 350 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
lightly oiled a oven tray with like olive oil, and like
Mhm.
brushed the nuggets themselves.
Wow.
as I am putting on Old Bay
Uh-huh.
on the nuggets, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Old Bay?
Old Bay.
Hell yeah.
You're pulling out the Old Bay
That
for
owns.
chicken nuggies.
That-
That's wild.
I
That's
just, like,
power.
I could have tossed this in the microwave, and no, it would not have tasted as good.
No.
But also,
No.
they're 9 chicken nuggets. Who gives a shit?
Well, do you have an air fryer?
No.
Yeah, do you have an air fryer?
You gotta get one of those. That changed the fucking game for me.
It's
'Cause-
pretty good.
Because then
Yeah.
you don't even need to fuck with the oven. That takes forever.
Every
the air
time-
fryer get hot in 2 seconds, and then you leave those fuckers in for 4 minutes.
Mm.
Bing, bang, boom. Better than the McDonald's.
Every time I bring it up to my wife, she says it's just an oven, and we never actually
It's-
go any further than that.
It's a convection oven.
Mm.
It's sequel
So-
to oven.
It is. So if there are like, here's the thing that I think they've done an expert job in marketing
Yeah.
the air fryer, because if you have a new oven, like an oven in the past like 5 years, it probably does convection.
Yeah.
You already have an air fryer,
Yeah.
but they've convinced you that you need one on your countertop. Now, I don't have a convection oven. I
Me neither.
have
Yeah.
one of the worst ovens that's ever been built. In fact, like I was cooking chicken thighs in there a couple days ago, and the smoke from the fat of the chicken thighs was coming up through the stove.
Yes.
So you just know there's a good kind of heat retention
Yeah,
going
that's
on
good.
Yeah.
That's what you
in
want.
the oven. That's, it's like you want a lot of heat escaping
Yes.
the oven. When you want to bake something, you basically just want it to be constantly recalibrating what the temperature is. And so yeah, I have the worst oven in the world. So my air fryer is great for reheating pizza. That's
Yes.
the big one.
Mhm.
Chicky nuggy.
Chicky nuggy, good. Fries, definitely good. So
Yes.
if you are like me and you get lazy and you actually order like a McDonald's DoorDash at some
Mhm.
point, those fries getting to you no good.
Yeah.
So put them in the air fryer and they'll be better.
I have found a
So-
local burger place does this that like shocked me how well it works. They put the fries in the bag and then put a paper towel on top of the fries, and
Mhm.
those fries are both hot and crispy by the time I get them
Mm.
home. And now
Yeah.
this is a thing I should remember to do myself, but I'm just much more
Yes.
annoyed no one's doing it for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
McDonald's should do that to you.
Our
I'm
family
being
does
I'm,
this.
be, I'm being informed in the chat because we are live. We're streaming this live over on twitch.tv/VGBs in case you've never watched this live and you're listening to this later. Jimmy Akame.
Sure.
Let's say that. Welcome to the chat. It's also different from a convection oven because the air goes up instead of back. Up into the back. Up into the back.
Mhm.
But the thing, my air fryer hot come from up.
My air fryer hot also come from up.
But fan not at bottom. Fan at top.
Fan at top for me.
Fan at top, hot circle. Fan
Hot
blow,
circle.
hot down.
Mhm.
Come around circle.
That's correct. Yep, that's correct. That's correct.
No one's quite sure how those things work.
I don't think the people
No
who make
one's
them know
quite
how they
sure.
work. They're just like one of those technologies that are like,
Yeah, we found
heats.
one of these.
Uh-huh.
the Prothean relic.
Uh-huh. God, a Prothean relic. Man, can you imagine what's his face kind of pitching an air fryer to Shepard and the rest of and the rest of the crew?
Toaster oven. My Hero Zero asking what is difference between air fryer and toaster oven.
Toaster oven has no fan.
No fan.
Yeah,
Air
no
fryer different from toaster oven because hot air go everywhere around.
Yeah.
And then toaster oven just hot box.
Yeah, hot box, and crucially, wherever the heating element is, your shit's gonna get hotter there first.
Yes.
So like that's why you get real toasty, crunchy bits around the edges, because it's not doing a good job of like insulating the heat. It's just kind of like absorbing the heat where those heat sources.
Let me
are.
ask you guys this: what is too much work for a hot dog?
Great question. Any amount of work. I think if you're here's the only way to prepare a hot dog. You get a hot dog out of the package. You get a paper towel.
Mm-hmm.
You wrap the hot dog in the paper towel. You walk over to the sink. You turn the sink on. You make the paper towel hot dog wet. You put it on a plate. You put it in the microwave for 35 seconds.
This is like,
that's it.
If you're wrapping something and getting it wet, you're doing as much, if not more, work than like doing the water or the grill. Just like
the grill too much. I don't like the way it tastes. Hot dog on grill.
I do the cuts in the hot dog and then put it on
I'm not using a knife
in the hot dog.
If I'm really going nuts, I will do the spiral cut.
No
way.
No way.
That's crazy.
Imran's gonna have to start his own like Korean corn dog place.
No, listen. Hot dog paper towel, hot dog wet. Great. It's the best way to have a hot dog.
Stupid.
It's the best way to have a hot dog.
And that's the funniest thing, because it's also just like all you've done is made the hottest paper towel that's ever existed.
Yes. And then you very carefully, like you're touching a bomb. You unravel it and you shake it out, and the hot dog's kind of blistered and too hot for you to touch.
Correct.
And then you put it in the bun.
Correct.
And then you take one bite that's way too hot.
It's way too hot.
And then you sit and you wait. And that's it.
In my head, a hot dog that's
takes 30 seconds
and has like the ends split open, like they burst open. That's a good ass hot dog.
That's a good hot dog.
Was
exactly.
Right.
Correct.
It's a good hot dog.
Yeah. Now, Bionic Andy Poo in chat says just don't heat it. Now that's crazy. A cold hot dog is insane.
Just don't heat it.
Did y'all know that James, what's his name? Jimmy Chestnut not competing hot dog contest.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I understood, like you said 3 words of that sentence. I'm like, oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah, Jimmy Hazelbutt,
Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut. Yes,
not competing because he took a sponsorship from Impossible.
Yeah.
And Impossible, which is crazy.
Funny.
And Impossible was like, listen, if you're going to do this hot dog contest, you got to rep Impossible. And Nathan's was like, you can't do that. And they were like, at the very least, no one will have brands. And he said, that's not going to work for me. Mm-hmm. So now he's just not doing it.
Well, now he's doing a Netflix special against Kobayashi.
Right.
Wait, I missed that development. Yeah. He's doing a 1v1?
Yes.
He's doing a 1v1, and it's a little bit like the PGA LIV kind of thing.
situation,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it's the Saudis are financing the Netflix thing. That's not true. I don't know.
No, they are. They
feel
fucking
like
love it.
if you're gonna do a 1v1 hot dog eating contest, it should just be one long hot dog.
I think,
and you try to get to the middle,
and you try to get to the middle,
and then they kiss.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's a really good idea. Hey, should we get on with the show?
Yeah,
we should.
You said you were going to do a tight 5 on Google Docs.
Yeah,
what happened to that?
Here's my big thing about Google Docs is that there's also the interesting thing about what's going on with me right now. Let's see this. Oh no, it's going through my headphones. Never mind.
Cold.
I thought my speakers were on for a second. You're cold. Put on a jacket.
I don't have one of those.
You don't have one?
I'm going to put on this skate t-shirt.
I don't think I have a tight 5 on Google Docs, but I did share our show notes with both of you, and I activated the thing that said, hey, anyone who has that link can both access and edit it, and it didn't work. I think it works only about 20% of the time.
Yeah.
What's the point of having the button?
I don't think I have 5 minutes in me over that, but I just want to say that I think Google should stop making every product that they make.
Yeah.
And just see what happens.
I mean,
they just stop.
That is the Google mantra: is we will stop making every product we make.
We will stop.
At some point in development.
We will stop.
I think that if Google stopped iterating on products in 2018, they'd be in a better spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably.
I will say about Google Docs, and this is so. In this doc is you, me, and Niki.
Yes,
and for me, it shows the people in the doc. There is a picture of John here, and a +1. Despite just that other that
one other person.
I will say I do know why that's true. It's because my MacBook on my bed in my room has this open. So I think that's why.
So it's John +1.
It's 2 Johns and plus a Niki and an Imran. Niki, you look like
Niki cosplaying as the Dune popcorn bucket.
Yeah, for those who can't see, Niki has put on a skate t-shirt with a lot of holes in it. Did it come pre-holed?
Yeah, I mean, this is the neck one. And then there's this. Wait, is this the one for the body at the bottom?
Oh, I thought it had holes. Like I thought it had like actual holes in it.
No. And then this is the
never mind. Okay, there you go. Yeah, now Niki just looks like Louise from Bob's Burgers, but kind of run through like a sepia tone kind of thing. It's pretty good. Hey, let's talk about the thing that sucks the most to talk about first. Let's talk about Guy Beahm, Dr. Disrespect, hitting the bricks this week. Rubber meets the road finally on this dumb motherfucker. And I guess the shortest version I can say is back in 2017, he was using the Twitch Whisper program within the software suite of Twitch to be having what he calls inappropriate messages with a minor. And because that now is kind of out in the open, some brave people decided to just start talking about it pretty openly last week. And his own company, Midnight Society, looked into it, decided, hey, like, we're going to let this guy go. A bunch of sponsors have dropped him, including the San Francisco 49ers. And he took to his stream on YouTube to say he's taking a long vacation. He and his family, and he said, fuck you, fuck that, fuck ball, I'm going to be back. You're fucking blah, 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 blah. Whatever, but you could also see the moment that he actually read on the stream that he was being let go from his company. So tasty. Nom, 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 nom. So that's what has happened. There's been a lot of discourse, obviously, a lot of really bad faith takes, obviously, from his fan base. Like, as if you can imagine, one of the worst people on earth has a fan base that also fucking stinks.
That subreddit is dire. Like I've been reading it just to like get some like Schadenfreude from it, but like there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh, we don't see the logs. I don't believe any of this." Like, motherfucker, he admitted it.
God, yeah, he was just tweeting through it. It was the first time in a minute I've seen a person tweet through it.
Yeah.
It like because it's like I think the platform is so different and the conversations that are had on the platform are so different. But it did feel vintage Twitter.
Yeah.
Like it felt like, oh man, this guy is using the whole cow right now. Like he used it was one of those long tweets because he's verified.
Oh, because he's really verified. Long. It's a
he was
very
using
long
the
tweet.
Edit feature. He wasn't like posting and deleting a thread.
Niki, please at least let's talk about the edits that he made, because
do you have the first version and then the second version?
Well, all I know is that he said a minor individual, then removed minor, and then put it back in.
Yeah,
that to me says he had it looked at by like a PR person or a lawyer or something, and then he was like, actually, that word probably doesn't matter when it's the most important word in the entire
thing. It's the most important word.
It's the most important one.
It was insane. And then it was like, it just felt like, do you not know that everyone can see the old version of the tweet?
He probably doesn't.
No, for sure. Right? Like he just has no idea. It felt classic to have this kind of meltdown, even though the thing that it is about is unbelievably dire and grim.
Yes.
It did feel classic in a way where I was like, we still got the juice.
We still got the juice.
We've still got the juice.
There will always be adult babies on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the other thing about this that like I do think is worth a discussion, and also I think needs some unraveling, is I think a lot of people have been focusing, rightfully so, on his behavior, what he did, the fact that he is a gross, weird person, and frankly always has been. I actually do think it's worth asking what Twitch's responsibility here is, because they also paid out that entire contract. They did not disclose why he was removed from the platform. A lot of people have kind of wanted to misdirect the conversation to kind of not involve them at all, and I think that's actually kind of strange. Like, I know that maybe nothing illegal happened, but we don't know that as the public. We actually don't know that. That's all coming from Guy Beahm, and that's all coming from other people that have said, like, well, we actually can't really speak to the legality or illegality of whatever happened, which is
it's just
nothing.
Impropriety.
It's just an impropriety, right? But it's like, we actually don't know these things, and a lot of people have been like, oh, do you think like Twitch and Amazon would actually cover this? Yes, I do. I do think they would cover it up. Absolutely. I do think they would cover up the fact that they gave a massive contract to what amounts to a weird predator guy.
Yeah.
So I am curious about, like, do we think there are more things coming out of this investigation?
I think it's like, what is the investigation? I think is the question, right?
I mean, like, I think it's a look into Twitch's policies, even though they're from many years ago.
Yeah.
Presumably we're at one point having a policy of, if one of our streamers does something that we feel like is worth paying out their contract but removing them from the platform, how has that policy changed?
Yeah, what is
I bet
that?
they did not have a morality clause before that they absolutely have.
That they have now. That's what it seems.
That feels like it's what it is.
That
right?
It feels like it is because Twitch is the way Twitch is.
Yes.
No one ever accounted for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No one thought about what if one of the guys that we give $1 bajillion to is a pedophile.
Also,
which is
I think,
embarrassing. It's embarrassing in and of itself.
No, for sure.
Right? I mean, like, that's crazy.
And like, from a Twitch management perspective, kind of that. I would argue that yes, it is deeply on them. That is so much more deeply on Amazon's legal team.
100%.
Like, how are you if your job is to risk assess all of the possible ways that this could, like, any of this kind of stuff could break down, you don't have any sort of system built in place where it's like,
I do wonder if there is there's a cultural element here to the way influencer deals ramp up and get signed, that, like, I feel like most of those deals happen so quickly by design that it's very difficult to have those protracted legal arguments about, like, hey, like, let's actually look into this person and vet what their background is and vet their old tweets and stuff
they
like that.
They definitely do not do still, because, like, there are a lot of, like, top streamers that are, like, fairly important to Twitch that suck ass.
Yes. And also, as a person who has been tasked with doing these quote unquote checks for larger, like when I was at WhatsApp, like they don't look
right.
Like there's three possibilities here. The person who was tasked on their team to look into this person look into a creator, one of these streamers, found all of this stuff, passed it up the chain, and the person up the chain was like, it's okay. Like, it's fine. Like, it's okay. It's too far back or whatever.
Yeah.
Or the person who is tasked with doing this stuff thinks that the stuff is fine, so does not surface it up the chain, then it doesn't get detected and doesn't get seen. Or the person who is in charge of finding the stuff finds the stuff, sends it up the chain, and then the chain is like, actually, fuck this. But that happens so rarely. And I've been in conversations with people where I'm like, you shouldn't work with this person. They work with the person, and it turns out actually this person sucks. And then they have to
undo a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And it's like, weird. Weird how that goes.
I will say, to put it back on Guy Beahm for a second,
yes,
the fact that he is so insistent on doing nothing illegal, like they talked about TwitchCon but didn't meet up at TwitchCon, that they did things inappropriate, that means to me he 100% knew and was doing everything possible to just walk the legal line for as long as he could.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this was back in 2017 when these things happened. It was also around the TwitchCon where he admitted he had cheated on
his wife.
Yes. So, back in 2017 or whenever he was actually caught doing that, he gave this kind of tearful.
It was the first time he broke character.
It was the first time he broke character. He had on a normal fucking hat and his dumb motherfucker. I hate this guy with my fucking bones. I hate this guy. And he gave this, he did this crocodile tears thing about, violating the trust of his home and blah, 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 blah. Very different tone with this.
Extremely different.
Very different.
Because it didn't affect him. And I think he realized that it didn't matter. He took a camera into a public bathroom that was streaming live on Twitch at E3 2019.
That was in E3 2019. So people asking, was that the same? No, that was at E3.
That was 2 years later. A different stupid.
I remember because he was manning a booth there and also just doing the Dr. Disrespect thing around the convention. And then the second and third days, you didn't see him at all.
He was not there.
He was banned. So they still had the Dr. Disrespect standee at an empty ass booth. But no Dr. Disrespect.
That was a bizarre show.
Yes.
I forgot about that until this. Until this popped off, I was like, oh yeah, he did take a camera into the bathroom where there were children using the bathroom. He did do that.
Grossimian says, and I'm gonna push back on this a bit. It sucks for the development team that they're partnered on a game with. I hear what you're saying. I do understand that.
But
that game also fucking stinks.
Yeah.
And also those people were dumb enough to partner with
him.
That
game was going to fail either way.
That game was going to fail either way. And now it's failed faster, which I would also argue, which I might argue is actually better for those people.
Yes. Because now they're not stuck in it.
Because now they're not stuck.
not mired in it. Also,
I hate to say that, but I that's what I believe.
Yeah. I think that also the tone of that, I don't know. I don't want to shit talk this studio, but
they did the right thing in the end.
They did the right thing for sure. But the guy that founded it is a guy that was underneath David Vonderhaar during that era of Call of Duty. Yes. So none of them working together is surprising at all.
Yeah.
I a little bit no sympathy. Understand the guy that you're getting in bed with a little bit, Yeah. So.
They knew.
Yeah, they knew, right?
They knew. If they're oh wow, this is the line. I was good line, but also there were a lot of other lines. I feel like
you were willing. You were willing for this stuff to be crossed. You drew the line at pedophilia, which is crazy. That's a late line.
He spread COVID misinformation. He filmed in a public bathroom.
Transphobic and stuff
He did a bunch of transphobic shit. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of lines that we could have drawn, and we drew it at the brightest one. And I guess, thank God, but also,
no commendation.
No commendation. no, like we're fucking disgusted by this, but that's most likely because they can't legally.
No. Like I mean, like I don't want to commend this studio.
Oh no,
for making
I see what you're saying.
Condemnation. Also, no, but that's for legal purposes.
I thought you said condemnation, not commendation.
No.
Like, you stopped them at the 10-yard line, but like that doesn't mean you did a good job.
It's still a great drive, gang.
Yeah,
like,
right.
What's the point?
Yeah, bend but don't break.
I hope this guy gets hit by a bus.
For legal purposes, I have to say that
was a joke.
Look, if you're driving a bus in Costa Rica and you see Guy Beahm, like I'm not gonna judge you.
Do you think that guy I bet he will. I bet he'll wear a different hair piece and glasses to try to blend in.
Do you think he does? Do you think he wears the costume for like social events or like?
I think
where he's Dr. Disrespect.
Yes. I do think that sometimes he is Dr. Disrespect in public.
Yeah.
But like not for work purposes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, for like picking up chicks purposes.
Yes.
Yeah. I think
or like
true.
he's like, I'm going to the mall, but I'm going to the mall as Dr. Disrespect today.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you asked me to like name or describe a person that is the human version of that Matthew McConaughey, like I keep getting older, but they stay the same age line.
Oh my God.
Like that's what he would look like.
For sure, yeah. No, he's absolutely that character from Dazed and Confused, for sure. With no ounce of irony.
Fucking gross.
He's a fucking gross dude, and you know, the truth is that I think most companies will actually not learn from this.
Nope.
I think they will probably still continue to make these deals because they work while they work.
Yeah,
they work while they work.
So it's so and it's so easy.
Yep.
To walk away from it. Like this sucks, right? Like this is the conversation for this week. And then kind of it will go away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, you know, like it'll be fine.
And
I mean, he's already
deal for 100%.
Yes, exactly.
He'll get a kick streaming deal, or he'll be like the first streamer on like Ben Shapiro's shit.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like
there is always going to be another check for these people.
Yeah, there will.
So it doesn't really make a difference.
He'll come back on January 6th with some sort of, I'm not kidding. He'll come back on January 6th with some sort of kick stream. That day, he'll be back playing something. And yeah.
Oh, like, Gunj in chat, he's just going to stream on X.
Yeah, he'll stream on X. That's probably true.
That's what
I'll say. I'm surprised Elon Musk is not like...
Not yet.
Not yet.
But he will.
Yeah, they're fucking compadres.
Yeah.
On the interaction with minors train. Like,
yeah.
Look, the only minors Elon Musk doesn't talk to are his kids.
Oh man! Remember when he was he beefing with the Chilean miners, or was that was that?
No, those were the kids that got stuck in that cave.
That's right. The kids.
You ever think about how fucking crazy that was? Have you ever watched a video about how they got those kids out?
Yeah,
it's fucking crazy.
It's wild.
They had to get them out. The tube of rock that they had to drug these kids to slide them out was only like person high.
Yeah.
And they had to fit like 15 kids through this gap.
Yeah.
Yep. Wouldn't have been me. I can't swim. So that's not my problem. I wouldn't have been in that situation to begin with.
Yeah, just don't worry about it. You're not going to be in that situation. All right, let's talk about something that actually doesn't suck. Let's talk about Shadow of the Erdtree.
Now I can put this back on because we're not having a serious conversation.
Yeah, no, that's a good. I
didn't want to get clipped out looking like a fucking clown beforehand.
Yeah, Shadow of the Erdtree is out. Obviously, it's been out for a little while, and 5 million players have picked it up, which is huge for a DLC. I have not touched this yet.
Oh, wow.
So I'm excited to talk to you, Imran, about it, because I know some people, especially in the BGB's Discord, have been playing it a lot. We did create a channel just for Elden Ring, and it has been our busiest channel by far since we started that. A lot of folks having fun with it. How are you liking it, Imran?
So at first, I really disliked this DLC.
Okay.
When I first started it, the way they've essentially structured it is if you were at an end game level, it does not matter. In previous FromSoft DLC, you could come in an end game level and things would be roughly to your level, if not a bit weaker. This one, enemies are extremely strong, and the only way you can manage to get strong enough to beat them is by finding things around the world called Erdtree something blessings, something like that.
Skibbity tree fragments.
Did y'all know that I actually heard that is supposed to be pronounced shadow tree?
Yes.
Yeah, it's fucked.
Which is crazy.
You know how you spell shadow? Not like that.
Not like that. Not like that. It is spelled skidoo tree though. So anyway. So you have to pick up these because there's actually this kind of separate almost leveling system of like you pick up these fragments, they boost your stats by a certain amount, which will get you the kind of hit power and protection from these much higher level enemies than what is in the base game.
Yeah, even correct? Like the guys on the street will fuck you.
Oh, really tough. Like I was watching some people stream and I was like, wow, they're really fucking you up in like 2 hits, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Wow.
So like early on when I ended up like just finding a castle, as you do in Elden Ring, you go somewhere, you pick a heading. The way I think Elden Ring worked, and we flash back to 20 whatever when we were at Fanbyte, we were talking about this in the Slack. I would hit something that would be too hard for me, then go explore and get stronger and come back.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because of the way this DLC works with you finding those blessings, you can't really do that unless you get lucky and find those blessings. So like what I ended up in this castle and I ended up finding this knight that was like, I think he was like the Moon Knight or something, that had a sword that would essentially kill me in 1 hit. It was annoying as hell to keep going back and doing those hits, or doing those tries at him. So I went elsewhere. I beat a bunch of bosses. I found some mausoleums and catacombs and all that, but I didn't find any blessings. And that meant that like, okay, I've done more things. I've gotten more weapons. I've talked to more NPCs, but I'm still not strong enough to beat this guy. I played with more builds, did other stuff, and I was getting like really frustrated. My wife, who is playing beside me and is a mage build, I can't be mad at her for playing a mage build, but I was watching her have the easiest fucking time in the world. She would just put up those 3 swords and the knight would get close to her and the knight would just die. Like, I don't know. There's probably some discussion to be had of toxic masculinity of Elden Ring, of like, I could just turn into a mage build for like a minute and then solve this and move on. But I didn't do that. And I ended up just getting more frustrated and I couldn't find more of these things. So like at that point I still think that they kind of misaimed that blessing thing, where I think like, I understand what they wanted. They wanted you to explore the world again. They didn't want you to just go boss. But it does mean that sometimes if you're just not finding them, you're not finding them.
Yeah. It seems like it interrupts the flow that was so integral to the base game.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't incentivize.
But it's supposed to be so clearly an in-game different kind of thing, though. And I feel like maybe I've just kind of misread the room. I had not interpreted this as kind of such a clear delineation until people really started to play it. It's like, okay, this is super, super, super in-game content.
Right.
Like, and it does work differently. I am intrigued that they decided to do this kind of progression system, and I feel like that's actually been kind of a mixed reception, like how this exact thing actually works. Of everything in the DLC, which has been very well received, I feel like this has had the most kind of mixed reception, which is also connected to difficulty,
right? They did patch it this week to like
make it a little easier at the beginning.
Those early fragments turn your stats like way up as opposed to just a little bit up, which I think like maybe an admission from them of, oh, we didn't tune this right. And I think this game has good examples of like difficulty is an art form. You know, like you can just fuck up the execution. You can do the execution really well. I think this DLC is both. There are times where there's like one dragon you fight 5 fucking times in the DLC. And each time to make him harder, they add different kinds of mobs. And at some point, I'm just being stabbed by like a skeleton dragon on the side while I'm trying to fight this other guy too. And that's like not fun. Like that's the way you design this is not. Elden Ring had bosses that you clearly went, oh, this is the fucking Dark Souls 2 like boss designer or whatever who is doing this thing again. And other times it had bosses that were just absolutely brilliant. This game kind of has the same thing where I go through the game and I feel like this is a little cheap, actually. This is not like finely tuned difficulty. This is just an example of them kind of just crowding you with kind of an annoying difficulty.
That's how I felt when I was watching Jeff Grubb fight there's a fucked up bird boss that like has a weird long neck and a bad skull.
Yeah, the Death Blight.
And
you're describing like 97% of the enemies in Elden Ring.
Okay.
Kind of a fucked up skull and a long neck.
Close your eyes. Listen, it's a bird. It's blue. And it's got the highlight colors are bone color and then blue and black. And then the bird can open its wings up and then turn shadow materials into like its quills on the air, like got its feathers. Turn it into sword.
Okay.
And then it shoot the sword at you. It seems fucked.
Yeah. Bosses in this game, I feel like they don't give you any time to figure out what's happening.
Yes.
They are absolutely relentless in a way that the main game I don't think ever really was. And it can be really fun. When you've surmounted that, it is like, oh hell yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But the times where you're doing it, like one of the early bosses has a move that she just turns into two moons. And if you don't know you can jump this, it's going to be like a fucking huge problem because every single time you're just going to get hit by these things and they will kill you.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I've seen some. I've watched a lot of the DLC. I've watched a lot of people kind of play through all the bosses and things like that without really spoiling anything. I was watching the final boss fight.
Wow, John beat the game.
I beat the game. And I will say, like, as I was watching, I was like, these attack patterns seem crazy to me. Like, legitimately no kind of like room for error crazy. And I think it's fine. Like, I mean, this is sicko shit. It's in-game shit. It's good. And obviously we've seen, when people finally beat these really tough bosses, there's a sense of elation. But I do wonder if we are seeing kind of a silly version of the difficulty discussion, which always comes up in this. But I am kind of going, we're starting to see a little bit of a shift here, like of people going, this is hard in a way that I'm not having fun with.
I also think that a hallmark of Elden Ring was that it was the most accessible out of all.
It was quite accessible.
And it feels like this is a step, maybe not backwards, but
into a different,
into something
lateral, into Bloodborne, lateral into Sekiro, stuff like that.
This was clearly a thing where if they had labeled it for the sickos, everyone would be fine with it.
Yes,
but
because they're attaching it to Elden Ring, which was like the biggest game in the world, like brought countless new people to the genre.
Yep.
To have them without the recognition, or not the recognition, but kind of the pattern recognition and understanding of difficulty. It feels hard.
Yeah, I think if I had to make just one change that would probably fix most of this is I would have made those blessings that make you stronger come from mini bosses and exploring points of interest, because you can find a lot of them, but some of them are just
on the ground.
Just pretty much on the ground. There's
crazy.
There's dudes with pots that have them too, and I feel like hunting those just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
When I knew about the way that this leveling system worked, I expected them to be around those crosses in the world, the crosses that kind of say, they're usually an NPC there that kind of sets the story up and all that stuff. I kind of expected those things to be around there. If not right in that location, but with maybe a mini boss that's close by, something like that. But yeah, it does seem to be very much all those YouTubers that spend 100 hours making a 20-minute video on the lore and doing all this export, this is for them. And I'm like, that's not describing most people that play these games that cover every single inch of this map. And I love exploration, but there's kind of a it is a different design language than something like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, you will find things that make you better, but they're mostly exploration for exploration's sake, and those things that you really need to progress in the world are put front and center in a way that are pretty easy to access and see.
Yeah. There are a lot of times I like explore a new area and I'm like, there has to be a blessing at the end of this. There's no way there's not. There's too much work put into this area. And then you get to the end and like, there's just fucking nothing. Like there may have been like a talisman or something, but it's like,
which is really funny.
Yeah.
But it's also weird. It's also tough.
It reeks to me as if a lot of these areas were made for the main game, but didn't make it in time. And then they just kind of put them like finish them up, put them in, and like that's why I'm going to this weird ruin or valley of ruins of fingers, and like that's such a cool area. But I get to the end and it's just I ring this bell and like give me a blessing. I don't understand why you can't just like give me a reward for making this strong or making myself stronger.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Did y'all see the Miyazaki interview with Keza McDonald over on The Guardian, where he basically said he sucks at the games that he makes. He sucks at all games, and he goes, I like to basically use every tool at my disposal and blah, 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 which is kind of an incredible quote that I actually frankly wish someone had gotten out of him about 10 years ago, because I feel like it would have saved us a lot of time and energy on some of these discussions that we have. But I thought it was very funny, a very relatable and funny interview with him. So go read that. It's in The Guardian. Keza McDonald did a good interview with him, and I thought that was great.
I know people who know Miyazaki and they like have dinner with him occasionally and stuff like that. The funniest thing I have heard of those dinners is his favorite thing in the world is not like people would assume it's like Berserk and things like that. It's shoujo anime. It's girls anime because he loves stuff like Fruits Basket much more than anything like Berserk.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think he's a weird little freak in ways that I don't even think we understand, So I don't know, but I'm excited to finally check it out. It's I've really spent a lot of time checking out some other stuff and obviously working on the site and some other things. So I haven't really had time, but I first have to beat Moog. I never beat Moog in the original.
Wow, he's bad.
I have to do that. Excuse me, but after that, I'll check it out.
It is quite good. It is not like I know I'm sounding kind of down on it. At this point, I'm finding more brilliance than I am things that are not working. But like the first couple of hours, man, that's such a hard like. It's like you were a baby and they're shaking you.
It's like yeah. It's a weird skill check kind of thing. It's like a skill check and vibes check or something. It's kind of interesting to see people interacting with it, but obviously it feels like a lot of people are having a really good time with it, and we'll talk a little bit more about FromSoft and Shadow of the Erdtree a little bit later in the show when we dig into some questions from the Hive.
And now we're going to talk exclusively about the patch notes for Hades 2. Okay.
Okay. So
general gameplay. So many duo boons and some legendary boons are going to be offered more frequently. And Charon's gold rewards now include Nightmare after a certain point. They've reworked the gathering tool upgrades and now you can find +1 elemental essence for your infusion boons. Slightly increased the number of boons. We don't need to do this, but the patch list is very long.
It's a long patch list.
Play more of the video game
Hades 2. Wow, what a shame for you to have to play.
My life is really hard.
More of Hades 2, which is a very good game. A lot of really good games out this year, which we'll also talk about. One game that is also very good that came out very recently, about as far from the vibes of Shadow of the Erdtree.
I don't understand.
Is Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble, which is the same. It is some are saying it is the Dark Souls of Marble Madness likes.
I'm always saying.
Yeah, I'm always saying that. This is a brand new Super Monkey Ball game. It's got some basically new adventure mode with all the single player levels you know and love. There's also a race mode, which I definitely want to talk about because it's got a really interesting gameplay design choice there, which I think is really great. It's the first Super Monkey Ball in I think 14 years, something like that.
Yeah, the other ones have been not.
They've been repackagings of
older ones or spin-off.
Yes.
This is the first like Monkey Ball. Like if they put numbers on these, this would be a numbered one.
Yeah. And it looks great. It's sitting on my Switch. I've not played it yet, but like I think there are some really intriguing things here. I'm obviously a big fan of adventure mode, just like single player. Get through these levels as fast as you can. They're always great for games done quick. So I expect to see some new speed runs from that community like already, which is super exciting. But let's talk about race mode, because that's a really interesting thing. Have you played any of that, Niki, or have you just kind of
so I've played a lot of this video game, Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble.
Tell me.
The race mode is like if you explained Mario Kart to someone over the phone. So it's like it's so deeply not Mario Kart,
right?
But it kind of is. Everyone like is on their own localized. They're moving the tilt of the level themselves.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to get to the goal faster, but you have power-ups like you do in Mario Kart.
Yeah.
I think it really changes the speed of it. There is something I've been playing most of adventure mode in co-op with my friend Jess, and we have collision on to make it a little bit more chaotic, and we're just kind of like bouncing each other off of the map and having a really good time doing it that way. But this race mode is kind of, it keys up that chaos. I don't actually know if I'm a big fan of it in a way where I am kind of like, it feels ancillary to the experience to me.
But it does have an interesting characteristic, though, where the track actually changes depending on if you're in the lead or not.
Yes.
So the way difficulty basically goes, instead of giving you like a blue shell or whatever, if you're in front, all the shit becomes like narrower and harder to navigate with obstacles that come up. And if you're in the back, you're basically just on this giant wide stretch, like an LA freeway with no traffic on it. And you're basically allowed that kind of lack of friction to catch up, essentially.
It's an incredible way to do
smart. I think it's so smart to do it that way, which I think is a riot. So I do want to check that out. Adventure mode is still where it's at for me, and in terms of playing it. We should probably hop on and try that a couple times. I love that.
I'm also so hesitant to be. Music is great. Gross Simeon's asking you about the music. Music's great.
It's usually very good.
I think this game looks awful.
Ooh, really? Interesting. Okay.
I think it is the most Wii looking game that has been released in a really long time.
I don't think they've ever changed Monkey Ball's like aesthetic.
No.
But the UX is tough in a way that like I would not describe the UX of an older one.
And I think the thing that gets me, I felt this way about, like, I think Xenoblade Chronicles, whatever the fuck.
Which one?
Whichever one. Whatever.
3?
Whichever. The new one.
Yep, 3.
I thought that game looked awful.
That game
I really
Niki,
did not like
you and I are on the same page. That game looks like
we're the only two
shit.
people on the planet who think this way.
That game looks like shit. Yeah.
But there was, at least I will give the game, it was trying something within a visual style, and I think it didn't work. There is no reason that Monkey Ball should not be the crispest looking video game.
It should be very crisp. Yeah.
It should look unbelievable. And I do think that there is, part of it was like a little bit nostalgic because we've been playing with GameCube controllers, and there is an element to where it's like, oh, it does kind of feel like I'm playing a GameCube game, and that's cute. But also, how nice would it be if it
if it played like a modern game?
Yeah,
looked like that.
Like it. I think like it plays fine. Like it runs at 60 frames a second.
Right.
But everything is jagged. Like, I'm so never this kind of person. Like, I don't care how the video game looks, but there's something about Monkey Ball because it's like, there are so few games that are this bright and this colorful and this, like, this uniquely suited for a crisp, clean, like, loving graphical representation. And, like, it feels like there is an opportunity missed there in a way that I very rarely feel from like a technological standpoint. It just feels like the game is not running at the right resolution the whole time.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So a thing I didn't know until I was looking this up just now is this game was made by RGG Studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like specifically, like
yes.
And
that's the thing. They know how to make good looking video games.
Do they though? Because like those, I love the Like a Dragon games. 8 in particular looks kind of bad.
Yeah.
This game's also only on the Switch, which I think is kind
only
of
on
nuts.
Switch, which is weird.
It'll get ported elsewhere at some point.
Eventually. It must be like a weird exclusive deal. You can be exclusive. We really have buried the fucking lead here, gang.
Yeah, we have.
You can be Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, because they've added a spin dash to this game.
And it's bad.
It is bad. It does look bad to me.
So the way the spin dash works, and I think it's just there's a counter. I think there's just there's a way I want it to work, and there's the way that it works, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get on board with the way that the game wants the spin dash to work. The spin dash, you charge it up, and it yeets you in the direction that your arrow is aiming.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you do not stop while you charge the spin dash. So that means that you cannot use it to change directions laterally or backwards. And
that is actually like Dark Souls design then, in a way. Yes. It's kind of like you're not going to be able to get away with this.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You got to commit.
I want it to be, I slam on the spin dash button and it is an e-brake, yeet me in this direction now instead.
Wow.
And what it
Niki
does,
want easy game.
I want the easy mode. And then what it actually does is for me, because I'm not good at the video game at that level, all it is just a way to accelerate killing the small baby monkey.
Okay.
Because I use the spin dash and it's like, well, that's the side of the map. I found it.
Okay. Off into the abyss you go.
Yeah.
Little monkey.
The maps are great. Like, I just think these games are great.
Great.
There is a pick up and play aspect to Monkey Ball that I think is kind of insurmountable. Yeah. Like with by any other game, because it's like you're a monkey in the ball and you got to get to the hole. That's it. That's literally it. And you can also play it without the spin dash, because that's what Jess and I have been doing, and we have not been using the spin dash, and it's been fine.
I bet that's like a high level thing for people.
For sure.
Ramp off
stuff. Exactly. Because then so much of the game is like, yes, okay, you completed the level. Okay, but now can you complete the level, get the bananas, get the golden banana? Okay, now there's obviously individual challenges per stage. How can you get the par time under 5 seconds on this, where the par time is 30 seconds,
right.
And you get a check mark. It's built in speed running kinds of stuff, which is really cool. Like, as an introduction to these concepts, I think it's great.
Well, and we've seen that exact style of gameplay kind of morph into almost every single time a violent direction with things like Neon White or I Am Your Beast, which is out on demo right now, or like Hotline Miami, which is very funny to me. But like to me, Super Monkey Ball feels like the renaissance of console ports for fighting games back in the late 90s, early 2000s, where you would get that pure arcade experience of just going through something kind of quickly in this kind of very simple way. But then you would also get a lot of modes tacked onto it that kind of like diversify the feel and the vibes and everything surrounding that game. And Super Monkey Ball always feels like that to me, this kind of celebration of itself, which like and it's always been like that from moment one. It's been like, we know we nailed this very simple gameplay. We know we nailed it. So here are all these little like riffs and permutations on it that you can also enjoy. And maybe none of that stuff is as good as the core experience, but it's like, it's all fun.
They're still trying stuff.
They're still trying stuff, which I think is really fun. It's really great to see, like, when we think about the legacy of the GameCube, I think it's really interesting that we do. I feel like we take like some of the best elements that Zelda has taken into the future, and obviously Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door. A lot of people still very nostalgic for Super Smash Brothers for GameCube, and also Sunshine, even though they're wrong.
You're wrong. Fuck
and
you.
and it's like what's weird is that Super Monkey Ball really, I think, has done the least to change, but for some reason is like under the radar of those like great GameCube games that have made it somehow into the modern lexicon.
And I think there's like, I think I could go on for a very long time on this, but I think a lot of it is actually the way that very explicitly the way that the Nintendo GameCube got human beings to play video games.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was something about, I didn't know anybody who only had one GameCube controller, which I'm thinking about
sure.
Now. If I were to go to one of my normal friends' house and they did have, for whatever reason, a PlayStation or an Xbox, they only have the controller that came with it. But when I was growing up, everyone had 75 Wii remotes. Yep. Because half of them were broken, but like everyone had 75 Wii remotes and 155 GameCube controllers.
Because like Melee came out in like the first month or something.
Yes.
So like everyone just bought another GameCube controller with that.
You just bought another GameCube controller, and then it was like there was no. And this thing is going to make me sound old, but I do think there is like a lot of it to it. You just plugged the fucker into the GameCube and it worked. Mm-hmm. Like you didn't have to go through the number of times I've been like, let's play this. Like I don't have to like go on your phone, go to this website, type in this code. That's crazy. Like I'm gonna I'm gonna grab this controller that I haven't used because I'm the only one who plays this thing. I pick up the controller, I plug it in. The controller needs to fucking update. What do you mean the controller needs to update? You can't update the controller wirelessly. You have to plug the controller into the plate. Like that's insane. The number of times I've been like, I guess we just aren't gonna play this like this because this is too much. Now you plug in the controller on the GameCube and you just play it. But I think that experience of a shared experience, every Monkey Ball memory I have is a shared experience. None of them are solo experiences. And I think there is something beautiful about that kind of game that is lost because of the stratification of the social structures around the way that we play video games now. And I think that is like so deeply what is nostalgic about playing Monkey Ball, about playing Smash, about playing like even thinking about Sunshine, which was a single player experience.
Right.
Those were experiences that I shared with other people.
Yeah.
You know, who were in the room with me while I was doing the thing. We were all doing it together. And I think that GameCube Wii era was uniquely suited. Same with the PlayStation and the Xbox, right? Like you just plugged the shit in. You were playing Halo 2. You just plugged more controllers in, and then you were all playing Halo 2.
I'm sorry to sound like Hideo Kojima for a second, but like there is something very visceral and visual and clear about plugging thing into another device. You're holding the thing it's tethered to and communicating directly to the machine. Like most of my controllers are wired just because I'm a weird freak that like gets upset about the idea of a battery running low.
Sure.
So I'm just always plugged in, destroying the battery in the process. To be clear, I understand this. It's okay. So I can never unplug it because it's just been plugged in that long. And I just feel like I feel like it's just one of those things where we have this kind of visual communication connection with something when we plug something in and it immediately works. So I do have that fondness of GameCube because it does feel like you're tethered with this very memorable controller.
Are we like at the point where that generation is probably the last generation that has nostalgia? Like,
yes.
Are we going to have nostalgia for like
about
PS3
that a lot,
games?
Imran. I've been thinking about that so much, Imran, because like I legitimately do think that the people who are my age are the last ones that will be nostalgic for the Xbox 3. Like that, the Xbox 360, I think, is actually the end of that line. Like the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 is the end of the line of where nostalgia is. And then I think everything after that has felt so you, me, and John, right? Like, and everyone in chat understands because we are fans of the industry, understand what the lines are. But for people, it has felt like one nebulous thing. Like the PlayStation 4 came out. Okay. Right. The PlayStation 5 came out. Okay. But it didn't represent a huge step in the ways that you played the video games. The Xbox 360 was a change in the way that you played the video game because it had the internet on it. You know?
I feel so like if you showed me a game that is meant to be a GameCube nostalgia game, I can immediately go like, oh, I see what they're going for here. This is meant to look like Fantastic Island or Mario Sunshine or whatever. But if you showed me, like, the only thing I can think of that defines the 360 generation for me is like that weird Unreal look where they couldn't do hair.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yes. Yeah. But to me, that's positive, A. And B, to me, there is so much Summer of Arcade style stuff that when I think about that era, it's like, it's asking my mom to go to the Target to get 1,600 Microsoft points so I can buy so you can play World games. Of Goo. Yeah, so you literally, so like I could spend 1,200 Microsoft points on World of Goo and then the leftover on an Avatar shirt or whatever the fuck. Like, that's what I'm nostalgic for. Someone in chat who said this, Mr. Real said that there will be nostalgia for the Switch. Absolutely. But I also think that because the Switch generation was so fucking long, that it will also feel nebulous. Like, I think there will be nostalgia for the Switch, but Mario Kart 9 will come out or whatever. But people will have this like nebulous memory of playing Mario Kart 8 for 35 years.
For 30 years, right.
And it won't feel time and place, I don't think, the way that some of the previous generations of games have felt. But no, this is such a good question, Imran, because I've been thinking about this a lot, like literally this week.
I mean, I feel like the obvious answer is like, obviously nostalgia is a thing that is so deeply ingrained in everything that we do that yes, there will be, but I think the flavor is very different. I think the flavor is very, very different, and it'll be nostalgic for things that I think the three of us won't really recognize as being anything to latch on to. Yeah. Like that's at least, I don't know, my take on it. Niki, you've written two things in this fucking document that I guess I'm going to ask you about.
Okay, this is a video game podcast, so
I know, and you want to talk about Chained Together.
Yeah, baby, Chained Together.
So that's like an only up.
It's an only up. You know, only up. It's that. Except the twist on this one is that you get 4 people, and there's literally a chain between all of you, and you can't go further than the chain is.
Do you have to finish the game before that song by Fleetwood Mac?
Yeah, so it's the slowest version of that song by Fleetwood Mac that there ever is.
Okay, I have to tell you, like, I saw a post on the internet that was the most baffling set of words I've ever seen that said, I really like Fleetwood Mac, but I don't like rumors. And I was like,
okay, well, that's someone being a weird.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I literally read it says 4 or 5 times, being like, no, this.
What do you mean? That's what it
what
says.
Do you mean?
That's what it says. That's
mean?
what they wrote. They wrote that in the box and then they sent it. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
But it's an only up, and I think I really don't like those kinds of games. Mostly because I think you can play them for 15 minutes and get it.
Yeah.
I
enjoyed watching a speed run of Only Up, but
yes, for sure.
Yeah.
But like, as far as an experience that I need to play, like I usually am kind of cold on it. I was talking to Funke, over at Larian, former friend of
what a wild sentence to say.
I know.
So true.
They're doing great. And they were talking about Sakurai put out a video, like he does all of these videos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Sakurai was like, I try to play a bunch of games for at least a little bit so I can understand them. And then he was like, I also don't feel the need to finish them if I can get them before I finish it. And he's like, I do like finishing games. I do think it's important, but also sometimes you need to just play a thing to understand what it's doing.
I totally agree.
And like, I had never played an Only Up before. So when I played it on Giant Bomb yesterday, and it was the first time I played one, and we played it for an hour and 45 minutes, and it was like, I had a fucking blast. I'll never touch one of these again.
Yep.
Never touch it again, because I get it. Like, you jump and it kind of feels shitty because it's like built in Unreal. It's floaty as hell. This one has like a good gimmick where, again, you are all changed together. But if one person falls off and the other people are on the platform that you've all tried to jump onto, you can grab the chain and yank them back up. Okay. That feels bad, but you can do it.
Sure.
This was nuts. It seems like when we sent chat to another streamer that was doing it, we were in hell when we started, but the level that when we sent them to another streamer that was playing the same game, they were in like a construction site, like on regular Earth. And we were like, oh, interesting. But there was a segment where we got past all this jumping puzzle shit. And then we walked up to this big gate, and then there was a car. And then everyone got in the car, and then I had to drive us up a big hill that had spinning objects and big holes in the ground. And it was like so deeply unexpected. And then we got out of the car, and then it was more jumping puzzles. And it was like, oh, okay. Like, it does seem like there is like variation in the formula here, but it is press space,
one of those.
W, you jump up. It's an only up.
Yeah.
But it's only $5 if you're looking for something to shoot the shit over, and kind of not particularly pay attention, have a good time. Like, Chain Together is a good one of those.
You also put a game called Fortnite.
Yeah, so Fortnite just came out, little indie game from the people who made
Jizz Jackrabbit,
and what else did they make? Wow, what's the name of that game that they canceled because Fortnite made too much money?
Oh, wow.
It's not Artifact. It's like Artifact, though.
It's not Artifact.
But it's like Artifact. Paragon.
Mr. Real.
Paragon. So from the makers of Paragon and John Jim Cribbett comes Fortnite. And I don't know how plugged into current Fortnite you are.
I'm not.
Not really.
Okay. Imran, okay, here's the gist. This season is Metallica's here.
Okay.
Great.
From music.
You've really sold me on checking it out again.
Metallica's here for music. It's also Mad Max. It deeply feels like there was a deal for It was, at some point, Epic had a conversation with Warner Brothers Discovery that said, you are going to release the motion picture Mad Max Furiosa Mad Max Saga. We are going to coincidentally also release a wastelandy Mad Max vehicle-based season in our hit video game Fortnite. And then at some point, just based on knowing vibes, David Zaslav said, never mind. Just kidding. We aren't going to do this. And Epic, now holding the bag because they've started work on this, is like, well, I guess we've already started it, so we'll get Metallica. And we'll put Fallout in it because Fallout big right
Wasteland.
Now. Wasteland. Sure. So that's the pivot. But it is Mad Max themed. It is deeply vehicle based. It's like the meta is you get in the vehicles, you upgrade your vehicles. There's like crates around the map that modify like your wheels and your speed. They give you there's like 2 guns that you can put on the cars. You're supposed to have vehicle to vehicle combat. It feels bad if you're playing solo because you can't shoot out of the car if you're the only person in the car. So you're constantly getting into cars, getting out of cars, getting into cars, getting out of cars. The flow feels whack. The weapon set is also kind of whack. There's an item called Nitro, which makes the cars faster, but also puts a buff on you that lets you shoulder charge anything. So you can break through structures. You can like shoulder charge cars and do damage. And that's kind of fun. And you get like unlimited sprint. That stuff is fun. But again, because you're a person fighting against cars, you're incentivized to get into cars. I think the flow of this season is kind of misplaced. It feels kind of whack. Fortnite Reload, which Epic takes a summer break. So they're off for July. Which is sick.
Wild. Yeah. It's so sick. Yeah.
But they take a summer break. So they load heavy. They put the season out in May usually, and then June is maintenance on the season, and then they usually drop something before their break, and then they go on break, and then they come back and the season wraps up soon after they come back. So they'll be back in August, and then the season will wrap up sometime then. Actually, whatever. It doesn't matter. The thing that they did this time as the little drop beforehand is a mode called Fortnite Reload, which is just a lift of Call of Duty Modern Warfare's Warzone's Resurgence mode, which is its squad base. As long as one of the people in your squad is alive, you can respawn. The map is way smaller. It's like a third, maybe a quarter of the size of the regular map. and it is inspired not by the current map, but by the Fortnite OG map that they introduced last year when they did Fortnite OG. So it's got POIs like Tilted Towers is here, Loot Lake is here, like all of like the classic points of interest are there, and they're organized and put on the map in such a way that there's not really like something that has changed about the way that the Fortnite map is built is that there's a lot of space in between POIs because that's where the stuff is. So you land at a POI, you go through the empty space. That's where you recharge, reload until you get to another POI, and then you do conflict there, and then blah, blah, blah. This game doesn't have any of those little reload
so pretty much it's just like it's all kind of periods. On top of each other.
Yes,
essentially.
It's POI on top of POI on top of POI. You're constantly in fights because the map is so condensed. It's such a blast. It's so fun. There's no vehicles that you have to worry about. The loot pool is very concentrated and understandable. You're not going to get fucked up by a weapon that you don't understand. Like you're going to get shot by a gun that you didn't see before, you know? I think it's really fun. I think it's a very interesting admission to be like, hey, we understand that like maybe we've taken a couple of steps too far, and here is a thing that is not the big thing that we're making right now.
Yeah.
When they released this, it had more players in this playlist than the regular Battle Royale and the regular Zero build had.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Which is
and those numbers have shifted.
Incredible data collection device.
And it's like I think Fortnite is the only game that does that. It's
incredible.
This way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really good. Even if you're a person who has like kind of bounced off of Fortnite, and are like, oh, I would like to play Fortnite, see what the fuck's happening. It's like a really good one of those. It's less punishing, I think, because you can respawn. Which is huge. Which is great. Yeah, I think it's really good. And they get to take a month off now.
I haven't played Fortnite in a long time.
We should play the video game Fortnite.
We ought to do that. We should play it. Fun. Imran, are you playing anything else? I'm just curious.
Besides Erdtree, not really. Like, it's the weird thing when you're reviewing games of you finish a review game and like, I don't know what to play next, or I don't really want to start something in case a review comes in. So
totally,
it's pretty much just Erdtree, though. Like, I am watching my wife play Paper Mario, and we have like a Russian nesting doll thing going where she will drop a game that I'm watching her play for the next game, but it's like, oh, I'm going to go back to that one. So we are currently, I'm watching her play Yakuza, watching her play Paper Mario, and now Erdtree has come out. So maybe by the end of the year, one of those games will be done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, these are huge games. So yeah, and actually, this is a great question. In case your backlog is for whatever reason not stacked enough, the Steam Summer Sale started the day that we recorded this on the 27th. Started a little bit before we start recording this podcast. I made some very, very brief notes about some highlights that I saw. Octopath Traveler 2 is $36, which is quite a bit. I think it's like $20 off or whatever for its base game, which is pretty good deal for a game that a lot of people really, really enjoyed. It's one of these only HD 2D games I actually don't think looks like shit. I'm one of those people that doesn't like this art style, but I think they did it pretty well in this one. Nier Automata, the Game of the Year edition, which is basically just like Game of the Year edition.
Year wrong, huh?
They spelled year really wrong. That's only $16, which is a great deal for a game that is, yes, at this point quite old, but also very good. Dragon Quest 11 is $24, which is about as good bang for your buck hours to cost that you could get for a game that is 100 hours long, basically at its base, which is wild. Street Fighter 6 is half off for $30, which is massive. And Bison just dropped. There is an article up on VGBs right now about how much I enjoyed getting to know this Bison at SGF. He is faster. He is a bit more punishing and more aggressive, which is a departure from his his Street Fighter 5.
Virtua Fighter 5.
His Street Fighter V Self, which I think was a little bit too slow, a little bit too unlike the Bisons that I think we all fell in love with. Riven also still has a launch discount. Thank you so much, Obscuratory, for mentioning that game. Looks unbelievable. It's queued up in my Steam library right now. I can't wait to play it. The Steam Deck LCD, that's the original. That's not the OLED. The OLED looks amazing. If you can afford an OLED, get an OLED. But if you can't, that is under $300.
That's crazy.
$297.
That's crazy. That's such a good deal.
It's such a crazy good deal. I cannot stress enough how good of a deal that is.
That's such a good deal.
It is so good.
Celeste is $2, Sean.
Fonk says it's actually sold out at this point, but it was not. It was not when I looked at it a couple hours ago.
Get fucked. They'll make more. They'll put more in there. The Steam sale ends on July 11th. They'll replenish.
And there's some other stuff too, like Fallout 76 is $10 right now. Like in case you watch that show and wanna own it, you can do that. You know,
I've heard it's good. Sorry, John. I know you just like issued some sort of buyer's advice, and I'm taking it back. Don't do that.
I'm not saying I'm not.
Don't. If you're gonna spend $9.99,
I'm saying if you are thinking about hopping in.
Don't do it the way that you're suggesting.
If you don't already own New Vegas,
no,
I would say
it's
still 76 too.
No, okay. Here's the thing: both of you are wrong. If you have $9.99, go to the Xbox app and sign up for Xbox Game Pass.
Sure, fine,
and you can play any of the Fallout games for $9.99. And then leave.
Yeah, but you're also then connected to this fucking platform that's going to pull the rug out from under you at some point, which they will. They absolutely will.
Whatever. I think people who complain about stores should shut the fuck up. Relax. You don't own this shit anyway.
Well, speaking of which, you can own Forza Horizon 4 for $12, which is being pulled off of shelves soon due to licensing issues. So get that while you can, because it is. And I'm going to look dead in the camera at this one. It's better than Forza Horizon 5.
It is. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'll say.
It's not as good as the first one, though.
It's not as good as the first one. That's true. Control is $10. That's a hell of a game. Dragon Age Inquisition is $4. That's a hell of a deal. Mm-hmm. All of Kingdom Hearts is $35. That's about $34 more than it should be.
That also might not last the whole sale. So like they call it an introductory sale. So like
hop on that if you really want those. And then Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader, that's a game that Merritt actually mentioned last week on this very program. It is $33 right now. It is a very deep role-playing game if you're interested in those. So those are some highlights for me.
How do I look at my wish list on Steam?
It's like top right wish list.
Yeah, top right.
I'm illiterate, Imran. So there's a game called Cryptmaster. That's only on $3
Great
sale.
Game.
But if you have not played it, that's on sale. It's a game where you type the whole game. It's a typer.
It's a good one.
It actually is really
it's really
good. That's on sale. A 1000X. What's it? How do you say it?
1000X Resist, I think.
That game's on sale.
1000 Resist.
Also.
That's a good one.
And again, Celeste is $2.
Arkham Knight also $2.
$2.
You will get $2 of fun out of Arkham Knight.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's the thing. That's what I love about the Steam sales, because like Arkham Knight, I'm like, I will shit on that game night and day for $2. Yeah. Play that game.
Yeah, play
like
the game.
It's like for $2, that's a great game.
Yeah,
that's a really great game for $2.
And also for $2, you can play until it get bad and just stop.
And then just stop, and you won't feel weird about it. Yeah, so
it doesn't matter.
That's I think the great equalizer of the Steam sales.
You could download. You could go download a completed save off of the internet. Skip the tutorial. And just bip around for a while.
That's true.
As Batman.
That's
for
true.
$2.
Funkacle announcing that Quiet Man.
Oh shit! I gotta drop everything.
It's £3 on the UK Steam store. I don't know what that translates to in the US.
I think I'm gonna guess 15 cents.
Okay, I was about to say like $4.99 or something, but man, Dread Delusion is also 25% off. That is a really cool lo-fi Morrowind like. I played it before it came out in 1.0, and I really enjoyed it. So
2K24 is $9.
NBA or WWE?
Yes, NBA.
Okay. WWE 2K4 is also on a pretty steep discount, and that is the best wrestling game that you can own right now.
Counter-Strike 2 is free.
It's always
Dota 2 is free right now.
Artifact is
Apex
free.
Legends is free right now.
Team Fortress 2.
That's free.
Unbelievable.
Actually, for like $4 for Dragon Age Acquisition, I might just do, even though I already own it on like.
I know.
Yeah, might as well.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this shit is good. Like, Dragon Quest 2 is also on sale. I think that's for $3. So, like, I think
Rick Rain, $8.
Rick Rain, $8.
Go buy a video game today.
Go buy a video game if you can. I think it's a really fun thing. I think it's going on till the first week of July. I can't remember what the end date. Maybe July 10th, something like that. But I think it's a fun one.
You know what I just had the thought about?
What'd you have what? What's that?
What if we like got a bunch of people together and like play GTA 5?
Oh, like GTA Online?
Yeah.
I've never opened GTA Online.
Well, we should go to break. We should go to break and think about it.
We should go to break and think about it?
Yeah.
Are we got to take a break real quick?
Yeah, we should take a break.
Okay, we'll take a break real quick. We'll be right back, folks, with more. We have Hive questions coming up next. The Hive asked us some questions. We have some answers for you. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Soup.
Sharpen your fangs. It's not the end.
We are back after a quick break. Thank you so much. That was a wait. I meant to fade that more than I did. I just cut it right the fuck off.
Jazz is about the fades you don't have.
Jazz is about the fades you don't have. That's great.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's
make
great
you think.
Advice. Make you think so much. All right, we're back with Imran and Niki, and we actually took questions from the Hive. That's right, folks. For just $9.99 a month, you can get the opportunity to ask us questions that are
question segment on a podcast.
Question segment on a podcast.
You're just gonna let me not be in the fucking frame? Whatever.
I'm
Whatever,
so
dude. I'm over here now.
I'm so fucking done correcting every single mistake you ever make. It's just like we'd be here all day, you know? No, I'm just kidding. So Hive questions. Let's go in order in which I received these. We got a question about the NVIDIA leaks from years ago and a bunch of these Square Enix cancellations from earlier this year. That was like late April, I believe, when that first broke. Mm-hmm. This is from Fonkacol. Do we believe or / know that any of those high-profile leaked games might be part of that cancellation block?
Tomb Raider was there, and Tomb Raider is not part of Square Enix anymore, so that's probably not there anymore. I assume it's still being worked on, but by
different
Embracer, Amazon, whatever. Kingdom Hearts 4 was announced, so I'm looking at an actual list. The only things that have not been announced are FF16, I guess, was announced, but it hasn't been like official. It's more that's happening. FF9 remake.
That's definitely
they're gonna make another Final Fantasy.
No, this is the same one, but for this
is the one with Clive.
With Clive, that's out already.
Yeah.
You know that one.
What are they? They're on 16 now.
They're on 16 now.
17 is in development. The only ones that have not been announced have been FF Tactics Remaster, which Schreier recently went like, "Hey,
we believe that's happening."
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Final Fantasy 9 remake. I think we were pretty sure it's happening.
I think that started development around the time they inked the deal for the cartoon. So I bet those come around the same time or get announced at least at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. FF9 remake has kind of all but been announced. I think everyone knows it's kind of a real entity at this point, but no one's really quite sure to what extent it is. I've not heard if it's like a Final Fantasy 7 level remake or if it's something different. Like, do we have any idea of what that's going to look like?
Publicly, no. From what I have heard, it is more in line of Trial of Mana, like that kind of remake.
That's kind of what I expected.
Yeah, like they're not. Yeah, I think it will look good. It's just not not huge in scope.
Not massive in scope. That makes a little more sense. Okay. So we had a bunch of Sega remakes kind of announced at the end of last year. We know Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio are underway. Do we have any dates for these yet? The official answer is no, I believe.
There was recently a leak, like day before yesterday, so they're among the Jet Set Radio. I think the rumor is they're going to do a free-to-play version and a remake of the first one.
Yeah.
So there were some screenshots of the remake that I think people have different feel. Like it looks good, but the proportions are no longer as cartoony. So they look
more of Guy.
Yeah, it's more Guy than whatever
than anime.
Not Guy.
Yeah.
Guy, not Guy.
Those are the polls. Yes.
Those are. Yeah, pretty much. So I'm excited about some of these remakes. I know the Streets of Rage one is the one that I'm most interested in terms of like, what are they going to do with this? Because the Streets of Rage 4 was about as good as I think you could hope for something in that vein. So what does a Streets of Rage remake look like? I don't know.
They showed like 1 second of it when they announced all of them, and it was like 3D, which is immediately kind of a turnoff.
Immediately a turnoff.
But like, we'll see. I wouldn't want to be against the Streets of Rage 4. Like, I wouldn't want to be compared to that game.
I wouldn't either. It's one of the best games of the past 5 years, and it's a banger. All right, let's ask let's ask this silly one. Hey, Imran, didn't you get scanned for Like a Dragon? Didn't you talk about this on a show?
Yeah, where are you?
The weekend fan bite closed.
That's right.
When I got scanned for Like a Dragon, it was me, Kat Bailey, and Kurt Indovina of GameSpot. So they have my scan. No one's ever like had me sign a contract.
Now, have you played Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble yet? Because I have a surprise for you. All right, folks, show Imran what he looks like in Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. I'm just kidding.
I kind of like want to just play like a Dragon game someday and find out like I'm some mook. Like just
that'd be great.
That would be great.
Yeah,
but you're not in there though.
I'm not.
Here's Imran. He's on the toilet of a ramen shop that's being raided.
That would be so sick.
That would be so sick.
It's like the time that I'm playing Infamous First Light, and Dan Reichert is like a sex trafficker.
Oh yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. God damn, that's incredible.
God.
All right, well, we'll keep our eyes peeled for that. I think this is a good question. FromSoft fans are really, really eating right now. We have Armored Core, we have Erdtree. What do we want to see next from software?
Next question.
That's Kart Racer. It's just completely chomping the Bloodborne Kart Racer thing. Okay,
that's out now, right? That fan made.
That is.
It is out. They've totally debranded it, so it's not connected to Bloodborne, even though it still looks exactly like Bloodborne.
Yeah, no, I think I do. I would love to see. It's so rare to say this. I want to see what they. Well, I guess Armored Core has gun.
Yeah,
but what if it was Guy
and gun?
Like what was that?
Like Bloodborne?
Like a shooter? No,
they have that game that I don't remember the name of now. But it's a Souls-like shooter.
It's a Souls-like shooter. I want the I don't want it to be as
Remnant
action Remnant. That's them?
Yeah. That's not from.
That's not them, but it is one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. I guess, but good.
You want to see a Remnant, but good?
I didn't really like Remnant.
Yeah. I didn't like Remnant as much as a lot of people did, for sure.
So I know they have signed a deal with Bandai Namco for like multiple games and like extra media stuff. So I assume next is 4 years of Elden Ring 2. But they've also shown they know how to pump out games like crazy. Like, if you would ask me, Armored Core was coming between Elden Ring and Elden Ring DLC.
It felt like that game came out of nowhere. Like when did they announce, or like when did they work on it? Even though they obviously had enough time.
Yeah, obviously they're big and they recycle enough that. But what were they recycling? I mean, they were recycling a lot. That's the thing, is that they're really good at recycling in a way that Bethesda is bad at it. They're as good at recycling as Bethesda is bad at it.
There's like a fucking like tower of books in the Erdtree DLC that I'm like, this is the library from Dark Souls 3. But by the time you get to the top, you don't care.
That's good.
It's good. I mean, it's good. I mean, that's just like that's what art design and good, confident environmental design can do. A lot of that stuff can technically belong to something else, and you barely notice by the end of it because it's just so cohesive. I think the obvious answer that most people want to hear is a follow up to Bloodborne. Bloodborne still feels like it's one of those things that it's so beloved. They nailed it in one. I don't even know if they want to go back to it. It almost feels like a thing that they nailed so much that it's just like, I don't know if they want to touch it again.
I think that's what Tam was, because I was talking to him about it during SGF.
Oh, he doesn't like Bloodborne very much.
Yeah, no, he fucking hates it. But I think he was like, it's, and I might be misattributing this to him, so apologies to him if.
Look, just say whatever you want. We can get Tam to correct it.
Just say whatever.
But I'm pretty sure he said that he didn't want more of it. He wanted it to run better.
Yeah.
So he's more invested in a remaster than he is in a sequel.
Yeah.
Because he thinks the game is perfect. He just wishes that it ran at 60 frames per second all of the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's how a lot of people, I'm sure that's how they feel also, probably. Yeah. But it just does seem like Sony should cut the fucking, like, Sony, I don't understand why Sony just doesn't do it themselves.
I think because
like insist upon it. Just be like, we're going to do this.
Like, we're just going to do it.
I bet it was a really easy proposal when Japan Studios still worked there.
Yes.
And now was no longer an easy proposal.
Yeah, like who's gonna do it for sure. Well, I simply wouldn't have closed the studio. That would
be great. That would have been real fucking smart.
Personally, if I were in charge of PlayStation, I wouldn't have done it that way.
My other point of view on this is that I think they'll try Kingsfield again. I think they'll try a first person game. I think they'll try it. I don't know when. Those games have not aged well from a gameplay perspective. Like they're really interesting to see kind of the genesis of some really interesting design stuff that they're now known for. But I don't think those games are fun to play. I'd be interested to see if they riff on that in the future. But I think that's a long shot. All right, let's it's it's a little bit of a heavy question, but I think it's worth asking. Someone asked, hey, game journalists are increasingly becoming a target of harassment campaigns and threats. I think the community has done a good job bringing awareness to these issues. That's in and of itself maybe something we can talk about. But what I don't hear as often is what we can do as individuals to actually help. What are some ways I can support game journalists directly? That's from the Anti-Boredom.
Have you heard of VGBs.com? I know it sounds lazy, but like I do think that the best way to show that kind of support and to show that there is an audience for the things that people are trying to make actively is to meet them where they are explicitly telling you you can meet them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is dollars by subscribing to a thing. Sometimes and if you can't do dollars, it's by showing up in chat. And I think one of the things that I walked away from SGF with, and I think the relationship is a little different because than this question explicitly, because like the folks that I was interacting with while I was doing the Giant Bomb stuff and while I was on the campus for SGF, those were devs and other members of press. But I do think that there is something so deeply beautiful about the fact that, these are people that I think really gets lost when you are reading tweets and listening to podcasts, because it extrapolates your existence from a person to a voice, which I think is beautiful in a lot of ways, but very detrimental in many others. So to remember that there are people on the other side and to treat them with the courage and respect that you would treat a regular person, I think is important.
Oh, I didn't know I could do this. Look at this.
What'd you do? Wow. Alice is here.
Alice is here. Loves to show up in chat. What's up, Alice? We love it when you show up in chat. I want to say one thing. I think the journalist community has mostly done a really good job of handling this. There's been some good reporting, especially on the roots of this harassment and the roots of kind of like, the DEI panic and all of that stuff. I think there's been some good reporting there. I also think there's been some shoddy reporting. I think there's been some, we got to get to the Twitter account as fast as possible reporting with some folks. They're actually most likely not the targets of this harassment that are doing this kind of panicked reporting that trying to get something out there before anything is actually confirmed. That's a general criticism I have of like some journalists that are out there that want to get to something fastest without actually having corroborated or confirmed a lot of stuff. That's just kind of a journalism 101 thing that I've seen fall apart a little bit, especially when it comes to Mark Kern and his band of morons that are trying to make life really tough for people. So I've seen a little bit of that, and that's been frustrating. But I think for the most part, yes, the journalist community has done a good job of doing that reporting, of doing that, doing the work of platforming stuff without making it, without platforming it for the sake of platforming it. I'll say that. And some people have failed at that. So I will say that's been one of those things that I've been critical of, privately and now publicly. But I think Niki's right. I think showing up and being like supportive vocally about what we do, what journalists do is really, really, really important. I think that's most of it. I think when appropriate, putting any sort of pressure on folks at big publishers or dev companies, I'm not talking about like harassing them and tweeting at them and stuff, but like if you know anybody that works at one of these companies, like they need to know how powerful it is when a publisher actually says like this is dumb shit and we're not going to deal with this. Like there is something to be said about how quickly people can shut the fuck up. I mean, like Dungeons and Dragons are the ones that fucking blocked Mark Kern on Twitter. It's like you could cut this shit off at the pass if you're a publisher and actually really help that. And I think any sort of pressure that the public can put on without being annoying and without harassing anybody, obviously, would also be probably valuable to some extent.
So we as a household went through this fairly recently.
Yeah.
It's really tough. Yeah.
The first instinct was to just like ignore it. It will go away, which is generally the way it works. But I also like, I
get that instinct. I get why people want to do that, but like, it's not always.
Yeah. They're fucking morons. They don't have the attention span to like last more than a week on one subject. But like, I was thinking, because I was having to button up a lot during this, because normally I would be like, get myself banned from Twitter kind of thing.
You'd be popping off.
Sure.
Yeah.
My wife had to hold me back essentially on a lot of stuff. I think there is also good to supporting the people who are being harassed. Like pushing back against, because like the rumor that was going around was my wife was doing essentially mafia protection articles against Black Myth Wukong, which is the dumbest fucking thing.
Really weird. And that's one of the weirdest conspiracies I've ever seen.
I did see a lot of people just responding of like, hey, your source for this seems to be one blogger in China. And they wouldn't respond to that because they didn't have anything. And most of these people are not arguing in good faith. They are absolutely not. They're using this one blogger in China to reinforce things that they already think they know or whatever. But like the people who did who did say, hey, this is stupid. You are not operating on evidence-based logic or anything like that. They got them to shut up for at least a little while. So I think all of these answers are correct. Niki is correct that like you should monetarily support sites that do good journalism. John is correct in that like there are a lot of journalists who are pushing this stuff, and there are a lot who are doing it a little irresponsibly. But I also think like you see someone getting harassed over this stuff, make sure people know that they are actually make sure that the dumb fuck conspiracy theories are not at the top of their Google searches.
Right. Yeah.
Because like that matters a lot too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Something I'll just kind of note generally. I know, and this is very specific to the Mark Kern situation. He and his people desperately want him to be known as Grums everywhere. Do you know why that is? Because when you search for Mark Kern, you literally see all of the grifts and failures that he's done. So there is something to be said about like, just because you see something a lot of times, like think about how you should actually talk about something. Like you don't need to say Grums. People who know who Mark Kern is, like you can say Mark Kern. There's something about like playing into the things that they actually want to put first and foremost. Like Grums is going to get you a lot of like really valiant sounding articles from really bad sources about how cool he is and about how he's fighting this good fight. But that's not who that is. His name is Mark Kern, and he's a fucking grifter and an idiot. And he's been in this industry for a long time and actually been out of it almost as long as he's been in it. But he thinks he's in it. And he just sucks out loud. So yeah, it's frustrating. I've got a real quiet mic. Do I sound quiet?
You sound great to me.
Yeah,
John.
I'm hearing you fine.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Well, maybe it's been quiet the whole time.
Arcade.
Sorry, Hen Arcade. Okay. And on stream it sounds quiet. Well, I don't know. Everyone turn it up. Turn it up, y'all. All right, let's move on. Let's end this thing with one more question. Basically, I had a question from My Hero Zero. It says, hey, there's lots of games that come out this year. What about some Recs from this year? There have been a lot of them. Halo 2, interesting.
Pretty good. No, that game that I've already forgotten the name of that I was talking about earlier.
Codemaster?
Yes.
Yeah.
The good game.
Codemaster is great.
Great. Oh, it's on here. It's on this list.
I did put it on there. Yeah.
Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. John, what is that? I still don't really understand what kind of game that is.
That is a
puzzle game,
black and white puzzle game where you are. There's like, the guys who made Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Yes,
they made the most fucking obscure puzzle game in the world, and it's them.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, now I gotta play it.
Yeah, it is a game where it's like you grabbing one of those puzzle books from the store and like it gives you like how do you solve this thing with this limited information, and that is essentially what this game is.
Yep.
But also manages to do it while being actually incredibly stylish and having a meta story about like trying to solve what happened 50 years ago kind of thing.
Sick.
Which is great. Yeah. It's really cool. I like that. My most obscure rec is Felvedek, which is a very strange RPG that takes place in the 15th century Slovakia. Very weird art style. Reminds me a little bit in terms of vibes with Hylix, although it's not as very clearly weird, but it's definitely a strange game that I've enjoyed playing. It's a very simple role-playing game, very quick to beat, but I really enjoyed it. It's funny. I think that day that Cryptmaster, Crow Country, Little Kitty Big City, Animal Well. I know a lot of people really focus on Animal Well. We'll talk about Animal Well in a second. I really thought Crow Country and Little Kitty Big City were my favorites of that bunch that came out. Crow Country is just amazing. If it's not nominated for a bunch of graphics awards at the end of the year, you'll know for sure that graphics awards are fucking dumb because it's one of the best looking games that I've played in a really long time. And I think Little Kitty Big City is everything I wanted Stray to be. So go check that out. Imran, he put oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's so incredible what a tonal gap there is between Little Kitty Big City and Stray.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it's so big, and like ideologically, I think it is kind of, well, yes and no, right? Like Stray is more of a narrative driven experience than Little Kitty Big City, but like mechanically kind of similar.
Yeah.
And then ideas wise kind of similar, and really is just like, that it's that meme of like the person's at a fork in the road and there's Depresso Castle on the left and Sunny Nice Castle on the right. And it's like Stray is Depresso Castle and Little Kitty Big City is Sun Nice Pretty Castle.
I've reached a point in my life, and I imagine this happens with all pet owners, that I cannot watch media that shows like bad things happening to
for sure.
No
way. I can't do it.
Like it's such a genre of game right now, or the past 5 years, to be like, look at this enchanted forest. The animals are dying. And I'm like, I'm good, actually. I'm good.
There's a part in Animal Well where like these cats are caged and they recorded sad cat sounds.
Yeah.
Like, them constantly, and figuring out how to get them out of those cages, actually extremely difficult. But like, I had to do, or my watch my wife play. We had to do it as hard as possible.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't stand listening to those sounds.
Yeah. So I'm in a seek joy space for my animal games. Little Kitty Big City really scratched that itch for me. You did put Animal Well on here, Imran. You watched Reb play that. Reb really liked this game.
Mm-hmm. She gave it, I think, a 9 out of 10 at IGN.
Yeah,
that's 90.
Good review.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 90. Yeah, that's true. That's a 900, depending on what scale you're looking at. Yeah,
1,000-point scale that we're.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have been surprised about how quickly that game has dropped out of the consciousness. I feel like
it's an ARG at its heart. Like it's a game, but like they want you to solve the layers going deeper. Like there are parts of that game that require having a printer, like that kind of thing. And it's once people solve that, if you're not one of the community sickos, you're probably just gonna going, all right, I did one layer, sure. I'm good. I did 1.5, and I don't need to go any further. But I think for the sickos, it is one of those games that they will be playing for a while, and they will probably just hole up in their discords and talk about it.
For sure.
Yep. I like Thousand Resist. I know that's Natalie Flores' favorite game ever. She kind of sold me on picking that one up, and it is actually an interesting, weird game. I'm usually not kind of one of those narrative game sickos, but I have been enjoying my time with that. Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door is on here, which I think is a wonderful recommendation.
Looks crazy. That game looks so good.
It's so good. It's so good.
Because you look at it and you're like, oh, this is what I remember 1,000 Year Door looking like.
And that's the thing that I think is so beautiful about it. Because you look at, and I think I got this game and Super Monkey Ball at the same time. I think that's what got me about it. Is that when I look at Paper Mario, I am very aware that it is not the exact same game, but in my brain, it looks the same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at Super Monkey Ball, I see the same video game. And I'm I would argue it probably looked better on my big CRT that I was playing it on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Terry Funk has asked, is that Terry game good? Terry's Terrytown, Terry Runaround,
Turbo Town?
Terry Turbo Terry. What's it called, John? Please.
It is Terry's Turbo Truck.
That game fucking rules.
It's great. It's a great game.
Fucking whips. It's so good. Game. Thank you for reminding me about it because I have to finish it. It's only 6 hours long.
Yeah, it's not long, but
I think I'm 2 or 3 hours in. It's great. Yeah. It's. I think it's legitimately funny, and I think that's really hard for
really tough for a game to be funny.
But I think it's funny. So it's $15. It might be on sale. Right
you listed Rogue Prince of Persia on here, Emerald?
So I just reviewed that game for IGN. I gave it a 7, the early access version.
That's a 700.
That's a 700. That is a 7,000 out of 10,000.
Amazing. Huge.
I think that game is actually mechanically very, very sound. It just needs more stuff. So
it needs more.
That game will get finished. It's in early access. It's backed by Ubisoft. It will get finished. Watch it while it's getting finished, and then pick a time where you're like, this is where I want to get in.
Now I'll jump in.
Yeah. I think it had the unfortunate timing to get next to Hades 2, which is
Niki and I talked about this 2 or 3 episodes ago. Smashed up between the other Prince of Persia game, which is really good. And then also Hades 2. I'm like, man, y'all couldn't have just waited 3 more months to get out from under this shit. It's just kind of wild to me.
Because if it had come out against the early access version of Hades 1, it actually would have fared a lot better. But the early access version of Hades 2 is a complete fucking game.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a complete game.
It's a huge game.
That is going to just add more to it. This is not a complete game yet. This is early access.
It's in real early access.
Yeah,
it's an actual early access.
And so far, the updates they've done so far have been taking they've been improving things. They've taken into account what people want, and it is massively improved. Even like the first 2 weeks I had it versus after that, like completely mechanically different game. And I think it'll get there extremely soon. But if you don't have any interest in seeing a game being made, I would wait until it is at a level comfortable for you, and then you give it a shot, because it is Dead Cells with parkour, which is a thing. It turns out Dead Cells was pretty good or could have used.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I revisited Dead Cells recently, and there's some agility that I wish that game had that it doesn't. So that's I'm excited for Rogue Prince of Persia. I just think it's just one of the most head-scratchingly timed, entries in early access. It's I guess because it's early access, they felt like they could afford that timing.
Yeah, because they'll do a real marketing push. They'll do a real marketing push later.
Yeah.
It would be like putting Titanfall 1 out in the same week as a Call of Duty game, for example.
Yep.
And also right next to the release of a brand new Battlefield. That's what it would hypothetically, that's what it would be like.
Yep. That is what it would be like. All right, let's hit the bricks, folks.
Let's
get out of here. It's over. Nikki, what you got going on? Are you at Giant Bombing?
I'm at thegiantbomb.com tomorrow on the Unprofessional Friday program. We've got
beautiful
people. I'm on it. Me, Sean, Jan, Bailey playing Fortnite.
That's a good one.
It's gonna be a good one. And then also tomorrow, a little bit of self promo. Tomorrow I will be on the Jackbox Games Pride stream from 4 to 6 p.m.
That's you,
Pacific. So I'll be there. Me, Congrats. Abby Russell, and then 2 people I don't know who will probably be fun. But I'll be there tomorrow. So twitch.tv.
To those 2 people we don't know, happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Hope you're gay. Twitch.tv.
What if they show up and they're like, hey, we're both real straight. Let's play this Jackbox game.
That might also still be fun.
Might also be fun.
Twitch.tv/Jackbox Games, I think. 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
That's awesome. Imran, what you got going on?
Actually nothing currently. So I've got things currently in the works. They will be published at some point. But as far as finding me, it's just Twitter at ImranZOMG and Blue Sky at Imran.con, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Also, I've been founding IBM, I think.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's a big one. That takes a lot of time.
Takes a lot of time. Yeah. You made Wilson. It's called Wilson, right?
No, one more time.
Winston?
Nope. One more.
Albert.
Watson.
That's right.
Can you imagine they made that stupid robot to beat Jeopardy and then they put that fucker in a closet for 10 years.
For 10 years.
And then they lucked into it being relevant again. That's crazy. And they weren't even the ones that brought it to the forefront. Someone else did it. And they were like, all right, bring this idiot out of the closet, the Jeopardy closet. Unbelievable.
Bring this dumbass out of the Jeopardy closet. All right, folks. You can find me at Floppy Adult on personal stuff at VGBs everywhere else. You go to VGBs.com/join to join the hive right now, starting at $9.99. You get things like bonus episodes of the podcast. There's going to be a new bonus episode in the feed coming up this weekend. You can also get special access to areas on our Discord where you could do things like ask us questions for podcasts and things like that. And then we also have other sub levels as well. Tell your friends about it. We also have free levels if you just want to come to the Discord and check it out, get a lay of the land before you decide to spend money. But your money does go directly to freelance pieces. Yes, we are a place that does, pay actual freelancers to do things. Imran was one of them on our first week and got something else that we're gestating. So that's super cool. And there's a great Grant Stoner piece that's also going up later today about Elden Ring and the accessibility discourse, and about how the accessibility discourse around Elden Ring is actually wrong and busted. And it actually should probably be a kind of a heater in terms of attention to us, because it's a little bit wild, but that's good. I like that. That's good stuff. You can also gift subs. Thank you so much, Funkicle, for reminding folks that you can also give subs. But thank you so much for listening to this episode. We'll be back again next week with a live episode. And gosh, that's I just keep on buzzing.
Turn it off.
Turn it off, everyone.
Turn it off.